So we're trying to figure out how we're going to be successful as we're coming out of a pandemic. Well, we've been talking about this for an episode, and with this new episode, I've got some more that I want to be able to unpack on how you can be successful as an individual, as an organization, as a business, as an institution when it comes to coming out of a pandemic. So take a few moments, listen to me as we talk about success after a pandemic. Let's get into the content of this video. All right. So as I mentioned in this video, that we have been talking now, this is our second week of what does success look like coming out of a pandemic. Of course, all of us have, if you will, reimagine our lives personally, professionally, and even relationally over the past year to year and a half. And so I want to be able to provide some great strategies on how you can be successful coming out of a pandemic. One of the things that you have to realize, and we talked about this on last episode, is that you have to understand what your core values are. And I define core values as the following. Core values is being able to know who am I when everything is stripped away and why or what is my reason for being. Once again, core values is who am I when everything is stripped away and what is my reason for being. And so on today, what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to actually talk about 6 categories according to the Hudson Institute that does a lot of great work when it comes to coaching. I'll make sure I have the link for that information in the, if you will, description of this particular video. But we're going to talk about 6 categories of how you can be able to, if you will, define your core values. Once again, 6 ways that you can define your core values. And so I'm going to actually get into them now. I've actually got my notes here, so I'll take a look at that briefly to make sure that I'm able to give them to you properly. All right, so if you will, core value, if you will, area number 1 that you want to be able to look at is the following, is being able to understand your personal power. Once again, a core value that how you're able to define success coming out of a pandemic is being able to define your personal power. And so personal power is one way of saying it. Another way of saying is self-esteem. You want to be able to have your esteem as an individual, as a family, as an organization, as an institution. What causes you to have power? When everything else is stripped away, what is, if you will, the mechanism that gives you your power? And so being able to understand that is a core value in how you're able to define success. Another one is a very simple one, if you will. The second area when it comes to core value is simply put achievement. Once again, the second, if you will, core value that folks are looking at is achieving. And so what have you been able to accomplish as an individual, as a family, as an organization, as an institution? As an individual, have you been able to successfully live for over 10 years, 20 years, 40 years, 60 years, etc.? As a business, have you been able to successfully live for a year, for 2 years, for 5 years, for 25 years? For an organization or institution, have you been able to get into new territories that you've never been able to get into before? That is a core value that can help you define success in this current era. So once again, our first one that we talked about is, if you will, personal power or self-esteem. The second one that we've talked about is achievement. And so let's get into the third, if you will, area of core values. And so that third area of core values is, if you will, is intimacy. Once again, that third core value is intimacy. Intimacy is being able to have a sense of vulnerability, a sense of willingness to share, if you will, yourself with others and with the world at large, whether that be an individual, whether that be within a family, whether that be within an organization or a business, whether that be within an institution or a municipality. How can you feel comfortable being able to express your true self? That is, in fact, a way of defining what, if you will, is success, even coming out of a pandemic. We found that in a pandemic, we've learned how to express ourselves in so many various ways, from a virtual standpoint, from a social standpoint, from a, if you will, collective standpoint, that being able to be intimate about yourself, about who you are, is a very, very strong way of defining success in the midst of a pandemic. And so that's something that's very key as well. All right, so let's get into the fourth, if you will, area that you can define core values when it comes down to having success after a pandemic, okay? So the fourth area that you're going to be able to define core values when it comes to success after a pandemic is creativity. Yes, it's creativity. Creativity is going to be the fourth area that you're going to be able to define as a core value when it comes to success after a pandemic. So what do I mean by creativity? All of us have a brilliant mind. Yes, you have a brilliant mind. Your family has a brilliant collective mind. Your organization has a brilliant collective mind. Your institution has a brilliant collective mind. And so during this pandemic, whether it be by actuality of the situation or by the, if you will, downtime that you've had available, is that hopefully you've had the opportunity to really dig into your creativity and find new things about yourself. Did you learn a new skill while you were in the pandemic? Did you find a new way to market your organization or institution while you're in a pandemic? Did you find new things that you enjoy about your family in the pandemic? All of those things are expressions of our creativity, which are core values that help us define success during a pandemic. So that is a very important core value. All right, so now let's get into the fifth, if you will, dimension, or the fifth area that you can look at when it comes to core values and success after a pandemic. And so that's going to be being able to have search for meaning, or being able to have meaning about life. Once again, the fifth component around being able to define core values and success after pandemic is your ability to search for meaning and or significance. You have probably heard the statement is that we don't just merely exist, but that all of us have a reason for being, going back to even our definition of core values. And so being able to have a reason for being is a very, very strong reason why you should have this core value, or why you should, if you will, evaluate this core value, because it allows you to be able to understand the why behind what it is you're doing. So as an individual, why are you going about saving this money? As a family, why are we going about, if you will, operating in this fashion? As an organization, why are we attracting these particular clients? As an institution, why is our mission statement this way? If you haven't taken the time thus far to really evaluate those things, this is a perfect time as a core value to really take inventory and really see, is the significance that I have in my life as an individual, as a family, as an organization, as an institution, the right thing for this moment, and also the right thing for the future. All right, so we've talked about 5 of them thus far. We've talked about personal power, we've talked about intimacy, we've talked about, if you will, being able to have creativity, we've talked about the ability to have search for significance. We've also talked about a 5th component that, I'll be honest, right now it's not coming to memory specifically off the top of the dome, but let's get into the 6th, if you will, core value. And that core value is compassion and or empathy. Once again, that 6th core value is compassion and or empathy. All right. And so the other one that I missed earlier was achievement. So when it comes down to compassion or empathy, is the fact of the matter that we've seen, especially during the pandemic, that all of us need to feel like we're understood, that we're loved, and that we belong. Once again, all of us desire to be understood, that we're loved, and we belong. And so one of the core values that you should definitely take some time to evaluate is, as an individual, as a family, as an organization, as an institution, how am I going about showcasing compassion to other individuals, and how am I showcasing empathy to other individuals? Especially during this time that you have COVID-19 going on, but also a lot of changes when it comes to our social platforms. Just to dig a little bit deeper in that, is that especially with the Black Lives Matter movement, with the Me Too movement that has happened in recent years as well as also being able to stop Asian hate, all of those things being very much so worthy causes, and more being able to have, if you will, more understanding around our Muslim brothers and sisters across the world that are dealing with various, if you will, forms of suppression, even what's going on right now when it comes to Palestine and Israel, being able to have compassion and being able to empathize with the, if you will, challenges that are going on both fronts, is being able to say, even if I may not be a part of this particular group, even if I may not be a part of this culture, can I take the time to understand said group, said culture more? And can I take the time and the true effort to put myself in their shoes? Being able to do that as an individual, as a family, as an organization, as an institution, being able to show love to another individual that doesn't necessarily benefit you, and being able to walk in someone else's shoes that may not be in your normal paradigm is a huge way that you can define success coming out of a pandemic. Well, there you have it. 6 different core values that you're looking at when it comes down to being able to navigate how to define success after a pandemic. Talking about that personal power, also known as self-esteem. Being able to talk about achievement. Being able to talk about intimacy. Being able to talk about creativity or that imagination. Being able to talk about, if you will, the search for meaning or significance, and being able to talk about compassion or empathy. All 6 of these things are great areas of core values that you want to definitely tap into. And I guarantee you that if you tap into at least one, if not a little bit of all of these areas, you'll find that you can truly define success after a pandemic. Well, I hope this, if you will, episode of Tactic Thursday has been a great blessing and benefit to you. I am DC Howard. I am the care coach that stands for Career and Relationship Excellence, and I want to be your care coach as well. A couple of things that you can do right now is, if you really enjoyed this content, click a thumbs up to allow us to know that you support this particular video and you support this channel. Also, we do these each and every single week. Go ahead and click on that subscribe button, because that allows you to be a part of our Wayoneers network, as well as also know when we drop brand new content each and every single week. Well, once again, I do appreciate the fact that you took time to listen to what I have to say when it comes to success after pandemic. Once again, I really, really hope that you're able to take this information, utilize it to the best of your ability as an individual, as a family, as an organization, as an institution. And as always, I look forward to seeing and speaking with you soon.